One of the biggest culprit is the nutrition. Kids are not getting proper nutrition. Parents must be very, very sure of this one thing, that no packets, no junk, no ketchup, no Bonvita, no healthy, so-called healthy drinks. No, it's all a scam. Government of India has put down a research which says that by 2050, 450 million of Indians are going to be obese. 2050, which means our children, they are going to be obese. Do I want my child to be obese?
What exactly happens after the delivery of a child to a mother?
Your body just doesn't feel right. You feel numb. You don't love the baby as you should as a mother. You feel a strong sense of disconnect with the baby, with the world around you, and you're constantly sad that what's next? I don't know. You're numb.
When the child is constantly having a lot of screen time, what does it do to the brain?
We do not let our kids experience any other emotions. Any difficult emotion that I'm facing, you will shut my brain down with the phone. Parenting is hard for parents who give it all. Parenting is easy for parents who use phone, screen as a coping mechanism.
We shot an amazing podcast with Shweta Gandhi, and I must say this is going to be an eye-opener for every parent that is out there. To understand your child better in terms of their mind, to understand your child better in terms of their brain development, and why do they throw tantrums, and what happens when you give them sugary food, and what happens in their brain when you give them the right kind of activities and when you give them the screen. I think this was super informative because she also has a background of NLP. She dissects it step by step as to how crucial it is from the age of 0 until the age of 7. If you're a parent, this is going to change your mindset completely about your child. If you're somebody who wants to be a parent, this is a great opportunity for you to learn how to get started with nurturing your child from the time of your conception. I loved having this conversation with her, and I'm very, very sure each one of you is going to have the same feeling. Hi Shweta, thank you so much for doing this. I'm super excited for today's session simply because I'm not a mother as yet. But I would love to understand a lot about how children grow up and how we parents also grow up along with children. So even before I ask you anything else, the first thing I'm very, very curious to know from you is, why do you think it's important for parents to understand how the brain development of a child happens?
Correct. Thank you very much for having us, and it's really, really an honor to be sitting with you
so
and
sweet.
doing this conversation. So first things first, let's understand how a child brain develops and why is it important for parents to understand. Because when you as a parent are dealing with your child, and when you truly understand your child's brain, you know that why your child is doing this and you know how to deal with it. When a parent doesn't know, he or she will simply keep on yelling on the child, will simply keep on, getting irritated, chid jayenge, thinking that why is my bacha like this? Why is something is wrong with my child? Something is wrong with my parenting. And you're constantly frustrated. You're constantly juggling that, am I doing enough? Is my child okay? But when you understand a child's brain, you are much more relaxed. And relaxed parents are happy parents, and happy parents make happy kids, make happy families.
Right.
So it is so vital for parents to understand how the child's brain grows, why the tantrums come, how to scientifically tackle these tantrums, because parents who know better, they do better. So it is simply the most basic thing for parent is know your child's brain, how it works.
Wow. Okay. From the time a child is born up until the time the prefrontal cortex is completely developed, what basically happens in the brain?
Okay. So do you know until what age the prefrontal cortex develops?
18?
Okay. Till the age of 25.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay.
Okay.
So let us understand this scientifically.
Mm.
So when a child is born, okay, when my baby comes in my hand, child already has 86 billion neurons in his brain, the basic brain cells, is born with it, right? And Now, with my one hold of the baby, touch or feeding the baby, care to the baby, the neurons that are there, they start developing the connections, the synapses start building. So on day one, I have one connection, day two, I have, and eventually entire network of the neurons is built, the neural connections is built in a child's brain to the extent that by the age my child is 2 years, my child already has more than the neural connections that an adult brain has,
Okay.
right? So with each touch, experience, care, exposure, his neural connections are multiplying at a pace that in 1 second 1 million neural connections develop in a child's brain in 0 to 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
in 1 second 1 million neural connections are developing. Now let us understand, when a child's brain is developing at this fast pace, my child really cannot process the emotions. My child's emotional brain is developing faster than my thinking brain, which is the prefrontal cortex.
Okay.
Prefrontal cortex is my thinking brain.
Correct.
This develops until 25 years.
Okay.
It starts developing around 5 years.
Okay.
So 0 to 5 years, my thinking brain is not developed
Got
at
it.
all.
That's why no logic.
That's why no logic.
Okay.
My child's logic brain is underdeveloped. My child's emotional regulators are missing. My child's impulse controls are missing. Now, when my child's thinking brain or prefrontal cortex is so underdeveloped and his emotional brain is way overactive, so he's having these emotions which my child cannot understand. Mama, I am having these emotions that I cannot process, I cannot understand. Mama, please help me. And when my child is having these emotions, he's trying to tell me, when my child is having the tantrums, he's trying to tell me, Mama, please help me, because there's overwhelm of emotions. I can't process, I don't know what is happening up there. Mama, please help me. And in that, if mama is scolding the child, don't you get it? I told you 500 times. How many times do I tell you? Stop it now. Go in your room. Is it helping the child?
No.
It is not helping my child. In fact, my child is confused that I'm already having a hard time and my mama is giving me a harder time.
Yeah.
My bacha, whenever he's having these meltdowns, he's trying to tell me, Mama, I'm having these emotions that I cannot understand. Help me. I'm not giving you a hard time. Mama, I'm having a hard time. Please help me simplify these complex emotions in my brain.
Okay.
Because there is so much of neural connection, neural activity. There's so much of emotional activity that's happening, which my child's immature brain cannot process, cannot regulate. And hence they need regulation from parents. My child's brain is hardwired for connection and cooperation and
Okay.
co-regulation.
Okay.
My child cannot separate and self-regulate. So when I tell, go to your room, just deal with this and come back when you have your head around this, it's not helping my child. In fact, it's hurting him, it's harming him.
Okay.
And if I, as a parent, I understand, I will be so much more easier on my child, and my child will have these emotional tantrums lesser, in lesser intensity. Because mama is so calm, mama is so chill, mama gets me. My daughter, she's 16 months and of course she has like whole lot of tantrums and emotional meltdowns. So what do? I know, baby, our brain is still developing. I know, bacha, we are having tantrums, but mama is with you. I get it. This will go away. I try to distract her. I validate. I know, bacha. I know this is making you upset. I understand. But you know what? We gotta do this. So when I calmly explain it to my child, she gets it.
Okay.
And if my daughter gets it, everybody's son, daughter will get it.
Okay.
You just need to know the right kind of technique to talk to them, to deal with them.
Okay.
And let me tell you, because I deal with so many celebrities, I know that Alia Bhatt's Raha or Kareena Kapoor's Jay, every 2-year-old to 5-year-old in this world is going an emotional tantrum and meltdown. So you are not alone, I am not alone. We all are in this together, because every 2 to 5 year in this world experiences this.
So we were talking about how even celebrities' children go through the same.
Absolutely. Every mom, a 2 to 5-year-old a child's mom in this world is having questions whether what happened with my parenting all this while till 15 months my bacha was such an angel bacha, and suddenly what happened? Is something wrong with my child? Is something wrong with my parenting? Am I not doing enough? Am I going wrong? But let me tell the parents, please hold up, because it's a phase, it will go away.
Okay.
And if you are a calm, composed and a mindful parent, you will definitely sail through this much easier.
Okay.
Because for a child, problems like that car, that small chocolate is a big problem, is as big as your big problems.
Okay.
And hence there comes big tantrums.
Okay.
Right?
So when you actually understand how all of this works scientifically, as a parent also, it's so much more easier for you to deal with that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So 0 to 2 this happens. What happens after 2?
So nothing that my child does overwhelms me when I know all of this better.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So what happens in 2 to 5 years, that their brain is developing at such a rapid pace, they want autonomy. They want all the controls. They want to be independent. They want to call the shots because now their language is developed. Right? Until 2 years, my child couldn't speak because his language wasn't developed. Now his language is developed. Now his brain is developed. So now comes a big tiger in the picture where he wants to take the whole control. I want to eat on my own. I want to eat what I want to eat. I want to wear what I want to wear. I'm not going to listen to you because my brain is going to be used now. And to the extent that I'm going to drain your brain.
Actually, yeah.
However, in all of this phase, parents must understand that this is very normal for every child to go through.
Okay.
Even my child, I'm an expert in this, but as a parent, I am struggling every day because child is a child, right?
Yeah.
My kids, their brains are growing at a normal, natural pace that it should be, and they will have all of those tantrums. And what do we do in that case is the fundamentals we parents understand. Now, what are the fundamentals? Number one, emotionally available, both the parents, where you and your husband, both of you are emotionally available for your child. You are involved in your child's day-to-day life. You are only inspiring your child, guiding your child, directing your child. You are not imposing anything on your child. You are not controlling your child's life, and you are not scolding, yelling, dictating. You are just their silent force. You constantly keep on guiding your child. Bacha, this is how it's done. If they don't listen to you and they still want to do it, let them do it. Let them bear the natural consequences under safe bracket.
Oh, okay.
Right? If they want to, do something that's absolutely harmful or is going to harm them, we don't allow that. But in safe brackets, let them experiment. Because the more they are using their prefrontal cortex, the more their logic brain is developing, the more their thinking brain is being activated, the more they understand.
Okay.
And when they do problem solving, when they do decision making, their brain actually trains itself to know the pros and cons, cause and effect, and they make smarter decisions eventually.
Okay.
So at a very young age, it is very necessary that we as parents, our core responsibility is to make them independent. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. We make them independent. We don't depend them on any of, the members or material things.
Okay.
You're good by yourself.
Self.
This is what we train them for at a very young age.
So does this also improve the self-worth of the child?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes, right? When I, as a child, I remember my mom used to very clearly tell me, I'm proud of you no matter what. Imagine at that time, my mom was so progressive and she
Yeah.
told me that, when I used to come back from school and used to start doing my homework, my mom was like, it's okay, do it later, chill na, come, let's eat this. I'm like, no, mama, I have to do my homework. She's like, you do your homework now or later, regardless, I'm proud of you. You are a brilliant child and you are going to do the best, whatever you do. And those words stayed with me so much that she told me that I know you're going to kill it in your life. She told me that. And I made sure that when my mom gave me that confidence, I wanted to make her proud that, Mama, you had belief in me that I'm going to kill it. Look, I'm killing it.
Yeah.
And honestly, all of these, the voice, the words in your house becomes your child's inner voice. This is exactly what it is. So fundamentally, I want parents to be emotionally available for the children. One of the biggest culprit is the nutrition.
Okay.
When kids are not getting proper nutrition,
Okay.
there is an outburst of chips, chocolates, packets, and we think this is okay. Now this is in the trend. So at my house, Gayatri, I don't have a single thing that's available in the departmental store. Anything that goes from farm to factory, it cannot come in my house.
Wow.
Anything that is from the farm, it can come to my house.
Okay.
Right? So when you have the basic nutrition in your house intact, it really helps a lot in your child's brain development, because nutrition is not just body.
Yes. Yes.
Right? For this age, in 0 to 7 years, one of the biggest predominant factors for a child brain development is the nutrition.
Okay. Okay.
Right? So parents must be very, very sure of this one thing, that no packets, no junk, no ketchup, no Bonvita, no, all of these healthy, so-called healthy drinks. No, it's all a scam. And parents must know this.
Mm.
Ketchup or Tang or I don't know if I should be naming the brands, but it's just so
Yes.
harmful for the children.
What does excessive sugar do to the brain of the child?
It makes them crazy.
Okay.
In the sense that my child's entire immune system is immature, right? There's a big shock in my child's immature nervous system. On his brain is overstimulated. There's a energy crash. There's a spike in the energy. So my child is not in his own control. He's not regulated with so much sugar.
Okay.
And when I want a very, soothing, calm environment for my child, what about the internal environment? If at my house everything is very soothing, I'm playing spiritual music all day, but if my child is constantly eating sugar, what about the internal environment, which is so stimulated? And for my child, prefrontal cortex, cognitive brain to develop, it needs a low stimulation or a perfect kind of stimulation. Not even low, not even high. And when my child is eating so much sugar, his entire system is just being overactivated, is overstimulated.
Okay.
Then comes issues like aggression. There's attention deficit. My child cannot focus. At our school we see that, where children cannot really focus on their thing. They cannot sit at one place. They're constantly moving. They're constantly distracted. Why? Sugar or junk food or chips or excessive salt, sodium, fried food is a big contributor to my child's attention deficit
Wow.
and hyperactivity.
Okay. So I've actually seen this as a pattern in so many places, including some of my friends. When we are having a conversation and the child comes and they have to feed the child, because they want to be involved in this conversation, they immediately open the iPad and give it to the child and let them eat, or they feed the child because the child is so quiet and just eating. I've also noticed the child is not even aware of what it is eating.
What it is there, oh God.
What's the problem with this? Children
Yeah.
eating while they're watching TV.
Yeah. So a lot of parents, resort to feeding the children while kids are watching television and parents are feeding, and they will mash all the vegetables, make a puree and feed the children.
Correct.
Now, guilty as charged. I do that at times when we are out, or when on weekends. We definitely do that, where we are watching television and we are eating. However, let me tell you why it is unhealthy is because where is my child developing any association with the food? What I do is I will tell my bacha, this is broccoli. This is how it looks. This is how it feels. This is how it tastes. So all the senses are being developed. Sight, the texture, the
Touch.
Tactile, and the taste.
Okay.
Right? And also when we are cooking or when we are stirring, the sound of stirring.
Okay.
Right? So all senses are developed, are involved while my child is eating a broccoli. Or when we are making some smoothie, involve your children in the kitchen,
Mm.
where they know, okay, this is like just this morning when we had first set of mangoes, fresh mangoes that came in. So my bacha helped me peel the mangoes, we mixed it in the yogurt, we made a smoothie out of it, he drank the smoothie. So in the whole process, my child is involved.
Okay.
And he loves it, and he can associate that mango, yogurt, smoothie, mixing, having,
Okay.
right? And when my child is watching television and simply having it, he's not developing any taste.
Correct.
The saliva is not even being extracted in the mouth.
Correct.
And when the food does not mix with saliva, does it get digested?
No.
There are digestive issues then, right? That has to be the mix. It has to come, right? When my brain is telling me that, oh, this is yummy. And then it goes in my system.
Yeah.
It's digested differently,
Yeah.
right? So when parents are resorting to watching TV and eating the food, listen, once in a while, it's fine, it's completely okay. But if you're making this a daily practice, beware, because it's not helping your child's brain grow, or your body is not even getting enough nutrition. Your child is not getting enough information or awareness on what he's consuming. Your child must know basic vegetables, fruits, how they taste. And it's a norm, it's the routine, the culture in our family that we eat this. You like it, you don't like it, we have to eat this because it's good for you.
Okay.
And I tell my son that, you know what, Agastya, today you're 5, you may not like it. But if I give up on you and if I let you eat all the junk food, when you will be 15, you will question me, Mama, why did you not give me a tight slap when I did not eat? Because all of your friends are going to be in the football team and you will not be in the football team. Government of India has put down a research which says that by 2050, 450 million of Indians are going to be obese, which means 2050, which means our children who are going to be
Yeah.
20, 25 years then,
Yeah.
they are going to be obese. Do I want my child to be obese? The training for that starts from now.
Mm.
And not just for my child to be that. For I being a role model, I being the CEO of my house, I'm the chief energy officer of my house. I call all the shots in my house.
Mm.
What nutrition will go, what energy will be there in my house, how I'm actually going to schedule their nutrition, sleep, or happiness quotient of the house.
I loved what you just said. Like, you speak to your son who's 5 years old like you speak to an adult. Right?
Absolutely, yes.
Why I want to bring this up is, I know 2 children. I'm not going to use the names. I know 2 children. Both of them are around 8, 9, 10. There's one child who's extremely mature, who speaks so beautifully, so intellectual. The other child who's the same age but does not act the same age, acts like a kid. And I was just trying to understand why this could have possibly happened. I understand how the parents treat them. So in the first scenario, the parent treats the child as an adult. They speak to them as an adult. In the second scenario, the child is still pampered, taken care of, fed, and like, it's just overly pampered.
Absolutely.
Now talk to me about it. Why is it important for us to talk to children like we talk to adults?
Absolutely. See, because I have to understand this brain is ever evolving. It's not a kid. And the input that goes in the brain, the output in the behavior is going to be accordingly.
Correct.
Right? If the input is over pampered, overfed, over taken care of, where is the output? The output is going to be average, right?
Mm.
But if I give my child a little bit of discipline, toughness, resilience, that is going to reflect in his attitude.
Mm.
My child does not like to go to the gym because it's a lot of hard work. But I tell him, Agastya, there are certain non-negotiables in this house.
Mm.
And those are eating green vegetables, eating your walnut every day, going to the gym, hydration, your sleep. These are non-negotiables in the house. And when my son knows that on these topics, mom, dad, they will not budge. He knows it, that this is what it is.
Mm.
When it comes to packets or chocolates, I don't have any such things in my house.
Mm.
So when you don't have that culture in the house, your child is much more away from it.
And they're naturally not inclined to that.
They're
Okay.
they've not seen that in the house. We don't have biscuits or anything that's packaged.
Mm.
Anything that's available in the departmental store is
not there.
in my house.
So the children have not had chocolates?
They have had chocolates because they go to so many birthday
Okay.
parties, they have their friends. But when it's there in your house,
House.
when they see it happening in the house, versus when they see it once in a while and they want to indulge. I'm very happy if he goes out and he said, Mama, I had a piece of cake. I'm like, great. But how much can he have,
Yeah.
just 4-5 bites?
Okay.
Because from the childhood, that taste or that inclination has never been there.
Okay, got it. Got it.
So the more you're away from it, you don't develop that fondness for it. And the
Right.
more you indulge in it, you develop that fondness for it.
Correct. That's true. And also because you as parents also follow the same things and you
Absolutely.
live by what you teach.
See, that's the only way to go about it, because kids do not listen by ears, they listen by eyes,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And kids are very smart.
Yeah.
All the kids that I know, I have
Yeah.
I have 20,000 children that I've trained, and I know that they are so smart that you cannot manipulate them.
That's true.
You cannot tweak anything. In fact, they are so brutally honest that they will put you on fire
Yeah.
sometimes.
That's true.
That-
This generation is way too smart. Way
I
too
tell
smart.
all the parents, kids have computer brain. They are so smart. See, because even parents are very smart these days.
Right.
They are well read, they are well traveled, they are well informed.
Hmm.
So of course it makes a difference,
Yeah.
right? So kids, that is going to reflect in the children. Parents, they know a lot than what our parents knew back
Hmm.
then.
That's
So
true.
that translates into the
Children
kids'
also.
behavior,
Yeah.
their attitudes. However, we were talking about the fundamentals when I say that nutrition, sleep, and one thing that I want to add in the fundamentals that parents must do is have dear time, DEAR, dear time. What do we mean by dear time? Is drop everything and reconnect, DEAR. So every night we have this beautiful dear time, 7:30 to 8. We are all having family dinner. Having family rituals is so important, because what binds us is our rituals,
Hmm.
right? We all are gonna. I know that eventually my kids are gonna go away for their further education, and what is gonna bring them back home? Or when my child is 7+ and he's gonna have major influences, primary influence is gonna be his friends and not parents. Only until 7 years, my kids are gonna be under my influence, and then their friends are gonna take over. And when my child is introduced to something new, something wrong, something that's harmful, or some substance, drugs, what is one thing that is going to bind my child to the family?
Yeah.
Is the rituals.
Right.
Is the culture in the house. So I try so hard to, have certain cultures in the house, have dinners together. And after dinner, we have family playtime, dear time, where we, all of us, 4 of us, we drop everything and reconnect. Where I'm doing a crazy dance for them, I'm singing, or my husband is doing pillow fighting with them, or we are playing puzzles, or we are doing drawing, or we are playing tug of war in the house. So that half an hour, Gayatri, in entire day is what is making my child's childhood.
That's actually core memories. While you were
Core
speaking
memories.
about it, I just got reminded of what I would do with my parents when I was that young.
Yeah.
It was all of these things.
yeah.
Yeah. You're basically building their entire life's core memories.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
And now, you asked me initially that, Shweta, how do we inject core values
Mm.
in our children?
Correct.
It's through these light-hearted moments.
Right.
When you are failing in the game, when you are, struggling. So that's when you convey your core values of the family. What are your core values? 5 of them. First, define them with your husband.
Mm.
That, this is what holds our family together.
Mm. Shweta, I wanted to ask you, because you're very, very good at drawing boundaries with your children, because when you say a no, it's a no. How does a parent draw a boundary and still not feel like they're a bad parent?
So first of all, there's nothing to feel bad about drawing a boundary, because you know that this is for the greater good,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
When you tell your child, you do it because I said so,
Mm.
then you feel bad, because then you are a bad parent.
Okay.
You don't do that. You
Mm.
don't impose. I know, bacha, you don't want to do it, but it's for your good and we must do it. Even if you don't like it, we will have to do it.
Mm.
Even I don't like it. But see, mama is also doing it, na?
Mm.
We have to do it, bacha. Chalo. So when I talk to my child in this beautiful tone, in such an understanding way, where I am trying to put logic in my child, where I am also stepping in my child's shoe, and when my child feels connected, that's when his logic brain is activated, and that's when he also starts connecting with me, resonating with me, and agreeing with me.
Okay.
And when I always tell my child, you are on the opposite team, I'm on the opposite team, and we both are enemies, and you got to do what I do because I'm a dominant one.
Okay.
Then the child is going to rebel.
Right. Right.
No, but you tell your child, Bacha, I know you don't want to do it. I am on your team. We are together in this. But you know what? That's our vision. We want to be this. And I always tell my son, Bacha, I want to make you strong like Cristiano Ronaldo because he's a big fan.
Okay.
I want to make you strong like him. You see his abs, and then he will show me his stunts and he'll do all that. And then like, you want to be that, right? Let's eat our egg roti. Hai na? Because that's what's going to give you protein.
Okay.
And so that's how, very logically, very smooth, soft, subtle way
You inspire
can-
the child based on what they like.
what they like.
Okay. Okay.
Because that's where, when they like something, they're instantly going to be connected. Right? And let me tell you, this is for all the parents, that your child may have multiple friends. Your child may have multiple toys, but your child has only one mother. And if that mom is frustrated, angry, irritated, such a bad deal for the child, right?
Yeah.
And if that mom is like, super cool mom who understands, who jokes around, who plays around, and who's, like a happy, fun mom, the child's childhood is made.
So now tell me, in the process of the brain development, when the child is constantly having a lot of screen time, what does it do to the brain?
So, first of all, let us understand excessive screen is numbing my child's brain.
Okay.
Because, and a lot of parents do this, that at a slightest discomfort, if my child is, throwing a little bit of tantrum, for example, we've come to a restaurant to eat, slightest discomfort, okay, take the phone.
Correct. I've seen that.
And we do not let our kids experience any other emotions. Matlab, any difficult emotion that I'm facing, you will shut my brain down with the phone.
Correct.
So in my brain, there is only one tick in the emotional toolbox. What is that tick?
Numbness.
Numbness. Numb me with the phone.
Phone. Got it.
So that my child cannot experience or cannot process or cannot regulate any of these emotions. Now imagine when a child constantly has faced this entire childhood for 3-4 years, where I am being bombarded with screen in any times when I'm having emotional discomfort. So eventually when the child grows up, when the child has to build relationships, friendships, when my child is having, you and I having any disagreement, how will I be able to process any disagreement or be able to come down to any conclusion or bring a healthy resolution to anything?
Yeah.
Because my brain has not learned that
Yeah.
to deal with discomfort.
Yeah.
My response always has been either fight, like give a big tantrum, or flight.
Flight. Correct. Correct.
The fear center of my brain has been fed with fight or flight syndrome as long as any discomfort is there. I don't know how to deal with these difficult emotions because nobody ever taught me. Now let us understand. A child's brain will only know so much as my mom or my dad has taught me.
Okay.
Right? Did you teach me how to face disappointment, failure? Did you teach me how to build friendships, how to face rejections? Did you teach me how to calm myself down when I'm very angry, when I'm frustrated? Parents think that if the bacha is going to school, if the bacha is grown up, they will learn this by themselves. But let me tell you, breaking news, kids only learn as much as parents teach them.
Okay.
And the parents who do not teach the coping mechanism for anger, for frustration, that gap forever stays in their brain. And when they grow up, they will always have the fight or flight response to it. And if the child is aware enough, emotionally aware enough, he will learn the steps along the way. And for certain kids who do not learn themselves, that gap is always there. Entire life, they cannot resolve the fights in a healthy way, and the childhood trauma that has been there, the gaps that have been there in the childhood, it stays with them for a lifetime.
Wow.
And that pattern keeps on repeating until that child one day decides that, you know what, this is my limitation, I have to overcome it. I maybe have to take a therapy, or I have to sign up for a program, and I have to learn this myself.
And also, Shweta, I want to understand. So, when the child is going through a discomfort, it equally causes a discomfort to the parent. So, the parent giving away the phone is also them running away from the discomfort they are feeling.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So,
It's crazy.
see,
Okay.
parenting is hard for parents who give it all. Parenting is easy for parents who use phone, screen as a coping mechanism.
Wow.
For parents who want to do like an average job at it, it's easy for them because there are so many distractions. Give a packet of chips, make the child happy. Give them phone, make the child happy. But if you really want to, like build a resilient, a confident child, for them, my God, you need to tie your hair up, and you need to get in your messy bun, and you need to get your, all the weapons on, and you need to be that mother. This is what it is.
Shweta, one other thing what I've noticed is in my friends, after they've delivered a baby, they go through a phase, the postpartum depression, right? But when I also listen to the mother-in-laws or mothers speak about it, they're like, oh, we've had so many children, we've not gone through what you've gone through. You guys are making a big deal out of it. We've had so many children. Look at our great-grandmothers. And there's also a psychology around it. What exactly happens after the delivery of a child to a mother?
See, there are so many physical, mental, emotional, hormonal changes that a mom is going through. And the postpartum depression is as real as it gets, to the extent that your body just doesn't feel right. You feel numb. You don't love the baby as you should as a mother. You feel a strong sense of disconnect with the baby, with the world around you. And you're constantly sad that what's next? I don't know. You're numb.
Okay.
Right? And it is as real as it gets. And this happens from the time the baby is born. It happens until 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
And with support, with lot of love, with lot of help around you, moms come out of it. See, because it's a very new phase for a mom. Suddenly, within like the baby's born, and your life changes. Like it changes like that. There's so much of responsibility to have, to feed the baby, to nurture the baby, to care for the baby. It's too much. And let's face it, as much as we've read so many articles, we've attended so many classes, but nobody can prepare you for it, right? Only your baby will prepare you for it.
Right.
Only when you have the baby in your hand, you know that this is a real deal now.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, it's a lot of responsibility, and also a lot of psychological, hormonal changes that a mother goes through. And hence, this happens. It has happened to me as well. And with lot of care, support of the family, you bounce back to life. So it's a short phase. You just have to make sure that the new mom is getting enough support and she's being heard.
Okay.
When she tells that I'm feeling this, and somebody completely disregards her, that, oh, you know what? I've done this. Why can't you do it? Because those times were different. You are a different individual. I'm facing this, and it cannot be discredited because you did not go through it. Does not mean that I will not go through it. Right?
So, what do you think men need to understand about women after they go through the delivery phase?
See, forget men. I would say when your wife is pregnant, from the time that you are a father to becoming a father, the entire journey, father has to play a 50-50 role. There has to be like an equal footing of the father, because no matter how much emotional nurture the mother gives to the child, the father's role, father's emotional nurture plays a very, very, very unique, different and impactful role on a child's emotional security, confidence building, their sense of self-esteem. Right? So father's role is very big.
Okay.
Trust me, as much as we talk about, a mother's role, mother is everything. Of course, mother's role is very vital, but father's role is irreplaceable. And today, when we see fathers, how they come to pick up and drop off the children, they change the nappies, they feed the babies, they take care of their nutrition, sleep, they are walking hand in hand with the moms. And this is what the millennial fathers or the Gen Z fathers are doing. And it's so commendable because it is great for child's overall health, his physical health, emotional health, mental health. Fathers have a big impact on children, sons and daughters individually,
Okay.
when fathers are involved in their day-to-day life.
So when children are growing up, are boys wired differently and girls wired differently?
Absolutely, yes. So boys we see the cerebellum.
Mm.
This part of the brain is more active, and this is responsible for the gross motor activities.
Mm.
So you would see the boys are always running, jumping, climbing, and they're always in motion.
Mm.
Why? Because this part of the brain is more active,
Mm.
it receives more blood flow, and they're able to process information better when they're moving.
Ah, okay.
Right?
Okay.
And this is just because biologically how their brains are designed.
Okay.
Right? And girls, they have more of, steadiness, emotional touch, their language develops faster, or they mature faster because their emotional brain is much more regulated than a boy's brain.
Ah, okay.
Right?
Okay.
And the boys, they need motion to learn, and girls, they need emotional touch to feel connected and to grow.
Okay. Okay.
So as much as we think it's cliched, but it is very scientific that boys are wired differently and girls are wired differently, and their learning traits are also very different.
Okay.
And boys having more of movement is very natural, and girls having more of emotional, connect is very natural.
Ah, okay.
And parents should understand that. And I have a boy and a girl, and I see
Okay.
how Agastya, he's like constantly moving and he's constantly processing all the information and he's learning. And my daughter, she likes more like sit down activities, fine motor activities.
Ah,
She likes to talk more. Language is developing faster than Agastya.
okay.
And that's how they are biologically designed.
Okay. So when there is an absent father, how does it affect the child, the girl child?
See, for a girl, a father's role, father's presence is so important. So, ऐसा होता है ना कि बेटियां ना हक जताती है अपने फादर्स पे. Why? Because when they know that they have the backing of this amazing person, they know they can win the world.
Right.
Their confidence, their self-esteem, their willingness to explore, to take on the adventures is much more higher. Their risk-taking ability is much more higher. And when the father is not there, at a very young age, girls resort to, they seek love of the opposite gender from wrong people.
Yeah.
They get trapped, they get influenced very easily. But when a father has set such amazing benchmark, girl, this is how it's done. See how I deal with your mama, how I treat her, how I respect her. And this is how it should be done, and you do not settle for anything less than any of this.
Okay.
So having a strong father figure puts a great benchmark for a daughter to see what I need to see in my partner, and also for her own development. Harvard's research says that a girl who has a backing of her father throughout her life in the day-to-day chores, that girl performs academically better. She's more emotionally matured. She's socially, emotionally more stable, and she also is more successful in her career because she has a very strong backing of a father who has given her strong values from childhood
Okay.
and who has set benchmark for her very high.
Wow.
That do not settle for anything less than that.
Mm.
And do you think when a girl who is raised by such a father is going to settle for anything less than what her father has shown her?
No. Yeah.
But if a father has not shown her only any vision, any picture, she will settle for less because she does not know what I am worthy.
Yeah. What it
I'm
feels
worth.
like. Exactly. Shweta, what happens to a child when both the parents are fighting constantly?
Or there's a lot of anxiety in the child to start with. Lot of anxiety, lot of internalized thoughts, which are of very low energy,
Okay.
constantly coming in my mind, and which is making me very underconfident, which is making me very quiet, numb, which affects me in my thinking brain,
Mhm.
where my decision making, problem solving is being thwarted.
Mm.
My emotional regulation is not happening because I see constant high volume, high pitch, intense fights happening.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly in the fear that what's going to happen next. Two of my favorite people are fighting. I'm confused whether this person is right or this person is right. Who do I support? Who do I vouch for? What is happening? So I'm constantly in the fear that something's not right in my house. And these kids also take resort to a lot of substance abuse early on, and they get addicted to wrong things at a very early age.
Mm.
These children also don't develop coping mechanism, because what is the coping mechanism?
Mm.
I've never seen it in my house.
Yeah.
They do not develop healthy relationships
Yeah.
because I haven't seen that. For me to do anything, I have to see that, right?
Right.
I have to live that
Yeah.
for me to be that,
Yeah.
right? That's not happening. And in these children, they also develop the PSTD, post stress trauma disorder.
Mm.
So that is also very prevalent in these children, where they are academically affected. They're constantly stressed. They cannot build healthy relationships, friendships, and they cannot basically, be confident or go out there in this dangerous world, because their house is only very dangerous for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
What is one safe space for my child?
Yeah.
My home.
Yeah.
And if my home is not stable, is not calm, is not nurturing, where do I go? And it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Because I know how a child brain works, how they think, how they feel. And this is for all the parents. If you are having a fight, please choose to have it away from your child. Please resolve it. Please come on the same page. Please build a middle ground for your child.
Mm.
Don't be in your ego trip. Build an ecosystem in the house, not an ecosystem.
Right.
Right? Because children who are born in a great ecosystem, they become high performance people.
Yeah.
And kids who are born in that ecosystem, they are constantly struggling in their life in building their self identity. They constantly have identity crisis.
Mm.
They cannot understand, who am I, what is my strength, what is my weakness, what do I aim for. They are just confused average humans.
It's actually so true.
Yeah.
Right? And when I was just thinking about our childhood, right? If you actually take a look at what we did, we went to the school, came back home, played with friends, did homework, went off to sleep. Max to max, there would have been like a singing class or a dance class. But if you take a look at this generation, parents and children, they're so tightly packed with one class after the other class after the other class. Now, my honest question is, are parents doing this genuinely for the children, or they feel like they're missing out on something because some other child is doing this?
There's a lot of FOMO in parents.
Okay.
Why? Because number one, the paradox of choices.
Mm.
I'm spoiled with choice as a parent.
Mm.
Imagine when we were younger, we only had one school to go to.
Correct?
Today, we have Montessori, Reggio Emilia, we have Waldorf, we have Nordic. What curriculum do I choose for my child? I'm so stressed already. Right? Number two, there are these classes. This bacha is going to them. My friend's child is going this. He's an expert in this. The other mom is posting about his performance that, oh, my child is, a national level. And I feel that, oh, am I not doing enough for my child?
Okay.
So today, the perfect parent syndrome that, which I see from Instagram, that, oh, other parents are doing this, I also need to do this.
Mm.
And in that race, I'm constantly running. And where am I getting? Even I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm in the race for sure.
Okay.
What is my goal? I don't know. Where am I running? I don't know. Where am I reaching? I don't know.
Mm.
But because everybody's running, I have to run. And this is not even the inspiration that's coming from within. I have to run because I see others are running. And that too, I see a very superficial picture on Instagram, a very rosy picture, and I don't know the truth.
Yeah.
It's just little rosy picture of 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm sold. And I start running.
Yeah.
Which is putting so much pressure on me as a parent. And let me tell you, Your child does not need a perfect parent or so many classes to go to. Your child really needs free play time, boredom, unstructured play for their brain to develop the best.
Okay.
Your child needs that. 1 or 2 classes when you are building skills, it's great because this is the time to build the skills. But do not overschedule. Just because somebody else is doing, I need to do it. No. Basic skills like swimming, like playing a sport, a football, or, learning certain public speaking skills. All of this is going to pay them in long term. It's going to be useful for them. Definitely sign up for that. Definitely undergo that. But when there's a constant race where I need to overschedule my child, iske baad ye, it's not helping you as a parent. It's not helping the child because your child is then developing anxiety in the body because he's constantly on the go, tuck, 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 tuck. And then when I get home, chalo, eat your dinner, eat your dinner, eat your dinner. Why are you not eating? Why are you not doing this? Chalo, now time to sleep, sleep, sleep. Go to sleep, go to sleep. My child is craving free play time. Mama, please spare me. Let me play in my own house.
Okay.
But no, parent wants to overschedule, and also because parents think I'm working all day. So what will the child do at home?
Okay.
So let me overschedule my child.
So when I look at this, it's coming more from a place of the parent trying to feel good about themselves for being a great parent.
100% yes.
And for them to not deal with the discomfort of missing out on the job and coming home and taking care of the child. They want the child to do something.
Absolutely.
So do you feel like we as parents genuinely love our children unconditionally, or we love them only when they're obedient and they perform well in life?
Absolutely. Lot of parents forget this thing that we need to love our children unconditionally, no matter what. Not how we want them to be, but for how they are and for what they will become when we let them be.
Okay. That's profound.
Right?
Yeah.
We don't over control, over parent them. We let them be. And we constantly keep on guiding them, nurturing them. And eventually they become amazing humans when you have that culture, that kind of vibe in your house.
Right.
But if you're constantly, your house is a mess, you are a mess yourself, your thoughts are not clear, you are constantly complaining, you are having such low energy, and then you expect that, why is my bacha like this? Something is wrong with you. I'm constantly, scolding my child for being this. But listen, you know what? Don't do anything. Just build that ecosystem and the flower will bloom.
Right.
Right? What we do is we are putting harsh sunlight, we are putting weed, and we are overwatering the plant. The plant is going to die.
Correct.
Rather, perfect sunlight, perfect fertilizers, watering at right time consistently every single day, and gratitude, praying. The plant will blossom, your child will bloom.
Yeah.
Just take the analogy of how a plant grows, that's how a child grows.
Right.
And how each plant is unique, each child is unique.
Right.
Right? If there's a rose, it needs different kind of environment to grow. A sunflower needs a different kind. So similar, we cannot compare one child to the other. There's a worst thing that we as parents would do, compare your bacha with Sharma ji ka beta. Right?
Right.
शर्मा जी का बेटा यूनिक है, अपनी तरह से है. My बच्चा अपनी तरह से यूनिक है.
Right.
I cannot compare.
Right.
All I do is provide nurturing environment. That's it. Less parenting.
Shweta, what is that one powerful lesson that you have learned from being a parent and working with so many parents?
Oh, wow, that's an interesting question. One lesson that I've learned is there is no perfect parent, there's no perfect child. Stop chasing perfection, progress over perfection. Every single day you will make mistakes. Your child will make mistakes, throw tantrums, not eat, want TV, would want chocolates. Every single day, if we are improving, if we are progressing, that's the great recipe for parenting. Don't take all the responsibility on your shoulder to be the best parent, who is like the most nurturing parent, most nutrition caretaking parent, or most educator parent. Don't put all that responsibility on your shoulders. Just be a happy, playful parent. Keep progressing day by day, and your child has the best gift as the perfect parent.
Wow. So I've seen this as a pattern in so many people, right? When the kid does something, now that I understand how the brain of the kid works, when the kid does something and the parents force the kid to say sorry or to kind of share certain things when the kid does not want to share, is it okay or not okay?
So imagine if I force you to eat something,
Mm.
like I'm imposing that on you.
Mm.
But when I teach you that, Gayatri, when you eat this, you nourish your body, you become stronger, you become smarter. When I understand the emotion or the value behind the action, that's when I can relate more that why is my mama telling me to eat this. So explain the why to the bacha,
Mm.
right? Explain the why rather than imposing. Inspire them. See, bacha, mama is also eating. And just because I become stronger and smarter, same, I want this for you to happen. Every morning, I give my son a walnut to eat because omega 3 and, very healthy. So it's a non negotiable. And I will put one walnut on his table and one on my, and we both will eat it together.
Oh, okay.
So this is where I'm inspiring my child. Just this morning, he's like, Mama, today I don't feel like eating. I'm like, okay, do you want to eat after 5 minutes when you feel a little okay? Okay, Mama. And he ate after 5 minutes.
Okay.
So this is what we're not imposing. We are inspiring our kids to do something. Number two, when I force my child for anything, he is just doing it out of force or out of that, the pressure that I'm putting on him.
Mm.
But is he really understanding the value? Is he understanding the empathy?
Mm.
Why should a bacha tell sorry or please or thank you or excuse me? Why? Because we are empathetic humans.
Right.
We empathize, and that's why we speak. We don't speak out of force.
Correct.
So I want to teach my child everything at a deeper level.
Okay.
So when you force, it's very superficial.
Correct. Correct.
When if you want to teach your child things at deeper level, that they imbibe these qualities, you have to be soft about it. You don't have to be harsh about it.
Right. And like how we started to talk about this, right? There are so many misconceptions around parenting styles and all of that. What is that one misconception that you wish the society started to unlearn about parenting?
There are so many actually. So first thing that I'd like to tell is that parents don't compare.
Okay.
Like a lot of parents I see, they compare their child with others, that see, he's doing that, you also need to do this. See, your sister is, like, sometimes subconsciously my staff would tell, see, Amara has already eaten, why can't you eat your food? And don't do that, because that makes my child feel less. I don't want him to feel less. And understand, for a child, all days it's not going to be an upward graph.
Correct.
Progress is always a plateau, right? Some days are going to be down, some days are going to be up, but overall we are progressing. We need to be happy about it. So don't compare. Number two is, parents, be the role model that you want your children to become. I cannot be sitting on the couch and scrolling the social media mindlessly and be having an image of my child who's a great reader, who's, great with academics, who is very socially, emotionally intelligent. That's not possible.
Yeah.
So parents, don't have unrealistic expectations from your child. First, just be their role model. You do things that you think that are right and you want your child to learn, because वो आपको CCTV की तरह देख रहे हैं.
Yes.
They will see you and they will learn.
Yes.
Just be that.
Right.
Right?
So children are like sponges and they keep absorbing based on what they observe.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
there's this thing called neuroplasticity.
Yes.
Right? Where your brain is constantly rewiring, evolving based on the experiences, habits, and whatever we do repeatedly, the neural pathway becomes concrete. It's a cement road and you become that person. Right? So for all the parents, just make sure that our children are repeatedly doing things that are good for them, that are healthy habits, and this will become a part of their nature,
Okay.
part of their personality. And for that, I tell parents that, mindfulness practices, like every single morning when my son wakes up, I wake him up with very strong affirmations. I am a champion. I'm a leader. I love making friends. I love eating healthy food. I love going to school. I love learning new things. I'm a curious child. When my son speaks all of this in present tense with all the emotions, that is when it takes a seat in his subconscious mind, and that is when it manifests in his personality. Right?
Absolutely.
So affirmations are something that parents must not miss out on. And because when you wake up in the morning, those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, your brain is in theta mode. The subconscious mind is in the most receptive mode. And 0 to 7 years, your child is in the hypnotic state of mind already,
Yes.
where you are actually programming their subconscious mind, which has a lifelong impact on a child's personality. Whatever your child is learning is adapting in 0 to 7 years. That stays with them for a lifetime. And 90% of the time, my decision making, problem solving is happening subconsciously, right?
Yes, yes.
90% of the time as an adult, I am making decisions which are based on my subconscious mind. And where all of this programming has happened in my 0 to 7 years.
Correct.
So it is so crucial that 0 to 7 years, I spend such quality time with my child. Before sleeping, 15 minutes. They are so crucial, where you talk to your child about when you're putting them to sleep. One story with a very good moral value, something that I want to teach my child about honesty. Then I'll talk about a story with that kind of moral value. Before sleeping, I'll ask my child, what challenge did you face today? I'm teaching my child gratitude. I'm asking that, what is one thing that you love doing today? How did you help someone today? What did you do that made other person feel good? When you're asking these questions, no, you are also inspiring or putting the thought in your child's mind that I need to be helpful, I need to be grateful. So that's how you're inspiring your child, just with the words,
Right.
just by talking to them.
Okay.
So that kind of connection with the child, when I'm connected with my child, his prefrontal cortex is being activated. That's when everything that I tell my child, it registers in their brain and they actually can act on it. So when my child is throwing a tantrum, and when I'm constantly telling him, don't do this, I told, but when the child is throwing a tantrum, that's when his brain is shut.
Right.
And then when at that time, when you're trying to tell your child anything, it's only going to bounce off his brain. Why? Because his logic brain is shut. When does their logic brain open? Only when they are connected.
Right.
When you're having playful conversation, when you are sitting on the floor doing a puzzle with your child, or playing the car. In the morning before my son goes to school, we do car racing. Right? So that's when he feels the most connected, and that's when he also tells me so many things that happen in the school which otherwise he would never tell me.
Okay.
Only when we are connected, he will tell me things so minute but so meaningful, and I'd be like, this side of my son I never knew. And only when I connect with him, I come to know his different personality traits.
Is this because there's a lot of trust that is there when connection happens?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, yes. And so when my son comes from school, and when I ask him what happened in the school, what did you eat, what did you learn, he's not interested in answering. He's like, Mama, how many questions you ask? And he will dismiss me. But when my child comes from school, I'll just hug him. But I missed you today. How was your school? It was great. Chalo, now tell me, what do you want to do? And whatever my son does, I will just be behind him doing whatever he does.
Okay.
And he feels a strong sense of connection that Mama is not imposing anything on me. I am free. And Mama is just trying to build that connection with me. And in that playful moment, he will open up. He will tell me things that he would never tell me otherwise.
Okay.
So focus on building connection with your child rather than correcting your child all the time. The golden rule is connection before correction. And guide, not control. Don't control your child. Keep guiding them. And eventually they will pick it up. The problem is parents want their kids to be perfect kids. No, don't expect that. Don't put that pressure on your child. Rather, just do things that you would want your child to do, and they'll pick it up.
Right.
Create that ecosystem. That's it.
Right. I mean, I'm not a parent yet, but I believe this entire conversation has kind of opened my mind to something, to understand that the entire parenting journey is not as difficult as it is made to seem. Right? When you understand the psychology of the child,
Absolutely.
when you understand what the child is going through in the process, it is not that very difficult.
Absolutely. And Gayatri, most important thing that I tell parents is don't over parent.
Hmm.
And today's parents are so hands on, they're so over concerned, and it's not helping the child really.
Hmm.
You really need to parent less. I have days when my child is rolling on the floor crying, they are not ready to eat, but I let them be. Honestly, I don't over parent at that point.
Okay. Okay.
We only intervene when we think that yes, this is where my child, we need to sit and talk, and that's when we tell our child that bacha, come, let's have a conversation. He would sit, he would take a pillow, he'd cross his legs and yes mama, tell me, yes dada, tell me.
Hmm.
So he understands what is non-negotiable in this house,
Okay.
and he sits with us. Again, as we spoke, that talking to a child like an adult, don't treat him like a baby, like, have that conversation with him. And these things that you built from the beginning stays,
Right.
that whenever we need to have a conversation, we'll ask him to sit with us in front of us, we'll have a conversation, we'll learn out of this. So Agastya, what is the key learning from this conversation?
Hmm.
Mama, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this, and point wise he will tell me.
Okay.
Tomorrow again he may make the same mistake,
Right.
but at least the seed of the thought I've planted in his brain.
It is slowly starting to register.
Right.
Okay.
And a child's brain will need a minimum of 15 to 20 encounters for it to completely register in his brain, because his brain is very immature. His logic brain is very underdeveloped.
Okay.
If I explain something to you, you will understand it at once
Hmm.
because your logic brain is fully developed. It's
Right.
matured.
Right.
His logic brain is so immature, he cannot really understand that.
Hmm.
His brain will need 15 to 20 encounters. For example, a lot of parents, what they do is, if I want to introduce beetroot or a broccoli to my child, once I fed him, he did not eat, he rejected. Second time he rejected. Third time he rejected. I got angry. What is this? Why can't you? And fourth time, I did not even care to give because it's a big red flag on his menu. So now I don't give him. But parents forget that a child's brain needs 15 to 20 encounters for their brain to register something. So be consistent. And that's where we will see the difference.
Hmm.
I'll tell you. So we have junk food free days, Monday to Friday.
Mm.
Saturday, Sunday, we may have some fries or we may have chips or an ice cream on the weekend or over the weekend, and even screen for that matter. And it was a Tuesday. I took both my kids on a beach. It was beautiful weather. It was raining. I took both my kids on the beach. And Agastya, he told me that, Mama, we are going on the beach so I can have chips, right? I'm like, Agastya, which day is it? He's like, Mama, it's a Tuesday. So he's like, can we eat chips? He's like, no, not really. So can I have coconut water and an apple? I'm like, of course. That's healthy. You can have that. And this happened last year, but last year, this wasn't the case. I had a big fat tantrum when I told him no for. So it took him good, consistent boundaries from my end for his brain to register.
And also,
now-
every
and
time
now-
he throws a tantrum, if you give in to it, he knows with the tantrum, he will get what he wants.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So there has to be like a hard stop. Agastya, this is it. This is non-negotiable. You feel like crying? Come here.
Mm.
Cry with me. I will sit with you. I will caress you.
Mm.
I will give you all the care. But if you think that with crying you're going to get this, you're going to get screen or you're going to get a packet of chips, I'm sorry, bacha. I empathize with you. I know that you want it. But we have our days fixed. Let's wait for Sunday.
Okay. Okay.
And I sit with him. I let him feel all the emotions. I don't dismiss any of his emotions. Let him feel that. Let him sit with those emotions. Let him feel it. Let him process and let him get over it himself.
Mm.
All I am doing is like an anchor, I am sitting right next to him.
Okay. Okay.
That I am with you. Yes, bacha. Whatever you are feeling, I am with you. I cannot walk his journey. He has to walk his journey. All I
Yes.
can be his anchor, which I'm being.
Yes.
Right?
That's actually so brilliant. I mean, I think this entire podcast is going to open up the minds of a lot of parents. One, to not stress their children, and two, to not take so much stress on themselves.
Yes, I'm so happy you concluded this so beautifully with both the parties
Yes.
being at ease.
Yes, yes. I think the entire purpose of life is for us to be at ease and peace and just enjoy
Right,
it. Yeah?
right. And you know, this is what I always say, and it's come from within. I've not read it anywhere. That what is the purpose of our life? I think it's to be happy.
Yes,
God wants his children to be happy.
yes,
And if we are stressed or if we are, in that negative or low vibrational frequency, God is uncomfortable that what are my kids doing?
yeah.
So if you really want to connect to the godliness within you, be happy. And
Yeah.
our problem is we keep on chasing happiness,
Right.
whereas it is within us.
Yes,
Happiness is like you be happy in this moment and everything will come to you.
that's true.
And we work exactly the opposite.
Opposite.
I want everything and only then I'll be happy.
No, it doesn't work that
Happiness
way.
works exactly opposite.
Opposite.
First be happy and everything will come to you.
Exactly. I mean, I think manifestation also works like that. When you start vibrating at that frequency, everything comes to you. But most people believe only when it comes to me will I feel so fulfilled, will I
Oh,
start
yes.
vibrating.
I
at
mean,
that
you are the
frequency.
best person to talk about it. So,
All right.
yeah.
Shweta, it was truly an amazing conversation that I've had with you. It has helped me so much, and I'm sure it's going to help every single person who's going to watch this. But before I let you go, so I have a bunch of questions, which is more like a rapid fire. I want you to give an answer in a word or a sentence, whatever comes up in
Great.
your mind, the first thing. Okay. What's the biggest myth about child brain development?
बच्चा छोटा है, बच्चा नहीं समझता है. Kids understand everything. You just need to know how to explain it to them.
One thing parents should do daily to boost a child's IQ.
Play with them. You're not just boosting their IQ, but their EQ as well. Play with them. Sit down. Have some time with them.
One educational toy every parent should buy.
Any wooden Montessori toy which has stacking or color coordination, but it has to be like hands-on toy, not a battery-operated toy.
Okay. One app you think that actually benefits children.
There are a lot of learning apps like Khan Academy Kids. My child generally uses that for educational videos and learning and tutoring.
Okay, nice. Should kids have social media before 13?
Not even after 13.
One food that every child should eat daily.
I think fruits, nuts, seeds, vegetables. My God, don't ask me.
Does junk food affect mood swings?
Of course.
Biggest diet mistake most parents make.
They think एक पैकेट चिप से कुछ नहीं होता, एक कैडबरी से कुछ नहीं होता, but us having one piece of chocolate is equivalent to a child having 3 pieces of chocolate at once, one go, and imagine how much it is affecting their immature nervous system.
Okay. One sentence every parent should say to a child during a meltdown.
I'm with you. I get you.
Worst way to handle a tantrum.
Yell, shout, scold.
One emotion most kids struggle to express.
I think kids struggle to express all the negative emotions, and all they really want is that parents help us untangle the wiring in my brain.
Okay. Gentle parenting, is it effective or overrated?
Gentle parenting is the only way,
Okay.
because gentle parenting is not just about being it's not hunky dory. It's about being strict, having boundaries, explaining to the child at a deeper level. Gentle parenting is so much more than what you read superficially.
Okay. One thing parents should never say to a child.
Be like Sharma ji ka beta. Do because I said it.
Best way to make a child love reading.
Read it yourself.
One soft skill every child should develop early.
I think it'll be emotional resilience, where kids should undergo difficult emotions for them to learn them. And other is, I strongly feel, is public speaking.
Okay. One bedtime habit every child should have.
Storytelling, emotional coaching to the kids.
Okay. Biggest sleep mistake parents make.
Is having unstructured sleep routine. Kids have to have a military routine where they sleep consistently at same time and wake up at the same time for their brains to process everything that's happened during the day. Their brain processes it when they sleep. So having a consistent sleep routine, meaning sleeping at 9 p.m., meaning sleeping early and waking up early. Your child, if has to get 9 hours of sleep, it should not be my child is sleeping at 12 and waking up at 9. Rather, it should be my child is sleeping at 9 and waking up at 6.
Okay.
So our body's rhythm should be as per the circadian rhythm.
Got it. One parenting book that you swear by.
The Whole Brain Child.
Okay.
Beautiful read.
Okay. If you could change one parenting rule worldwide, what would it be?
Calm down, parents.
If you had to give one parenting tip in just 3 words, what would it be?
Be calm, be consistent, and be connected.
Okay. What's the most surprising thing you've learned about kids as a psychologist?
I think they're the most emotionally intelligent beings on this planet.
Wow. If you could go back and give parenting advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I think my mom did a fabulous job, and I'm so grateful to her for all her words of encouragement when I was disappointed, how she pushed me so softly and she nurtured me with a lot of right values. And I'm very grateful to my mom for that.
Sweet. One parenting trend that needs to stop as soon
Sorry,
as
I'm
possible.
very grateful to my mom and my dad for that. My dad will be like, what did I not do?
All right. One parenting trend that needs to stop as soon as possible.
Parents, stop having the FOMO. It's you and your child. It's not Instagram and your child.
Right. One thing parents think matters but does not matter.
Validation from social media.
Perfect. One thing parents ignore but actually makes a huge difference.
Your calmness.
If you could rewire one belief in every parent's mind, what would it be?
छोटा है अभी कुछ समझ नहीं आता है.
And one
You should just know how to deal with your child because they get everything and they understand everything. You should just know how to explain it to them.
Right. And one last question. One mistake every parent is making right now.
Overparenting.
Okay. Shweta, it's been an amazing conversation. I have loved. I mean, for all of you who are watching, we've come all the way to Surat and this is Shweta's restaurant and it's been an amazing place for us and you've been such a fabulous host. I mean, it's not just for me, for my entire team, your warmth, the way your team is, every single thing. It speaks so much about you and who you are as a person beneath all of this.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
so
very
much for doing
and
this.
honestly, this was bare minimum because we were so excited that you were flying all the way from Chennai to Surat, and we are honestly still in awe of you and your entire team. And honestly, you are such an amazing person. I've always been seeing you on Instagram and like, wow, you know what you coach on Instagram, it's so worthy. And I try to take a lot of tips from you, implement in my
That's so
life. And today, sitting with you across the table, it's just a beautiful dream manifested.
Oh, thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.